Have you ever asked yourself, how do you go from having nothing to lacking nothing? I hear that question every day. And every time, I smile and ask in return, well, what do you think? Most people pause, not because they're not smart, but because they've never really thought about it seriously. They're just repeating what they've heard from social media, from some video, or from a self-help book. They say, the rich save money, the poor waste it. But is that really true? I used to believe that, until I started paying close attention. And then I realized, the most frugal people I know are poor people. They count every cent when eating out, split the bill to the exact item, choose food by price instead of taste. And the wealthy people I've shared meals with? They never look at the price on the menu. Not because they're reckless, but because they've broken through a psychological barrier. That invisible limit that makes you feel constantly lacking, constantly afraid, constantly clinging to every little dollar. Let me tell you a short story. Back when I was a student, every time we went out to eat, we'd split the bill down to the smallest detail. Like, hey, you ate an extra boiled egg, pay your share. But now, when I meet those same old friends, I'm the one who picks up the tab. Not to show off, but because money no longer controls my emotions. In the end, money isn't just something to save. Money is energy. Money is presence. Money is the reflection of that inner sense of abundance. Sounds vague? Then think about this. Why is it that some people earn a lot, yet always feel poor? And others, living on modest wages, still feel peaceful and generous? It's because financial freedom doesn't start with your wallet. It starts with how you think about money. If you always believe that money is hard to earn, must be saved, must be held tight, then you'll live like a slave to it, forever. But if you begin to understand that money is a tool to help you live truthfully, deeply, and emotionally, that's the first step toward financial freedom. The rich don't spend money on things. They spend money on feelings. The feeling of freedom, the feeling of being themselves, the feeling of I deserve this. And it's exactly that feeling that creates energy. Energy to earn more, to open up opportunities, to attract luck. So if you've ever asked, where do I begin to become wealthy? Let me tell you this. Start with how you spend your very first dollar. It reveals your entire financial future. Don't just study what the rich do. Study how they think, how they feel, and how they spend, because that is the real key to financial freedom. Level 1. Spending money because of lack. If you're living each day with the mindset, I must save every penny, spend carefully, hold back because the future is uncertain, then you might be at the very first level of the financial journey. The level of fear and scarcity. Level 1 is where many people get stuck. Here, money is no longer a tool for living. It becomes an emotional weight, a constant worry, a force that dictates your mood, your choices, even your future. You see a shirt you really like, it fits your style perfectly. But then you glance at the price, and you hesitate. You tell yourself, better save this month. The shirt isn't expensive, but the guilt of spending feels far too costly. You deny yourself a small gift. And over time, you begin to deny the feeling that you deserve nice things. That's the energy of the lowest financial level. The energy of fear. You save not because you're wise, but because you don't believe in tomorrow. You're afraid of losing your job. You're afraid of illness. You're afraid that no one will be there to help. So you hold on to your money as if it were your lifeline. But here's the truth. That very energy is what keeps you stuck. When you live in lack, you attract more lack. The tighter you hold on to money, the more it slips away. I'm not saying you should be reckless. I'm saying this. When you spend money out of fear, you're reinforcing poverty. Have you noticed? Poor people are often more afraid of losing money than they are driven to create it. The wealthy are the opposite. They understand that money flows to those who radiate energy and self-trust. I remember when I had nothing. I once bought a fairly expensive shirt, even though I only had a few $100s left. You know why? Because in that moment, I needed to feel successful. I needed to believe that I was on my way up. Not just someone clinging to scraps, waiting for a miracle. And strangely enough, just a few weeks later, I landed my first major contract. Opportunities started to appear, not because of the shirt, but because of the energy I gave off after buying it. I felt more confident, more vibrant, more ready for the next level. Here's a simple truth. The rich aren't rich because they save. They're rich because they know when to spend. To unlock new energy, new presence, a new life. So if you're in level 1, the level of fear, of lack, of extreme saving, start with something small. Spend money on yourself, not to buy an item, but to buy back your belief. You cannot create a bright future if you live today as if tomorrow is doomed. You cannot unlock the flow of money if your mind is frozen with fear of losing it. So next time you're faced with a spending decision, ask yourself this: am I spending out of fear? Or am I planting a seed of faith for my future? Level 2. Spending money in no way, loss of direction. There's a level above scarcity, but it's just as dangerous. It's when you have money, but don't know how to spend it wisely. Spending without purpose may feel like freedom, but in reality, it's just another form of being lost. Level 2 is where many people unknowingly get stuck. They're no longer worried about lacking money, but they still can't build lasting wealth, because they don't spend for the future. They spend just to fill emotional gaps in the present. Have you ever bought something simply because others were buying it too? Have you ever ordered a bag, a car, or a new gadget, not because you needed it, but because you felt you deserved a little joy after a stressful week? That kind of spending might sound reasonable, but it doesn't help you grow. You trade money for a momentary feeling and miss the deeper truth. Money should not just soothe your emotions. It should expand your vision. I once knew a friend with a solid income. At the end of every month, he would treat himself a new watch, an expensive suit, a fine bottle of wine. From the outside, he seemed to have great taste. But one day, his company downsized. He was devastated, not just because he lost his job, but because his bank account was empty. Those luxury items? They didn't build relationships. They didn't enhance his personal brand. They didn't create alternate income streams. All they left behind were receipts. People who spend recklessly aren't foolish. They're simply lacking direction, lacking a clear goal, and most of all, they lack understanding of money's true value. You know what's interesting? Truly wealthy people have a very clear trait. They might spend thousands on a single dinner, but they won't spend $50 on something nice but meaningless. Because they don't spend just to own. They spend to influence, to uplift, to open doors. Money, when used wisely, is an incredible lever, but when used carelessly, it becomes a trap. And the biggest trap is the mindset. I have the right to spend, so I do. I often say, making money is a skill, but spending it wisely, that's intelligence. Those who spend strategically, even with small amounts, eventually build the mindset of a leader. But those who keep spending without seeing change are often just running away from themselves. So if you've ever proudly said, I don't have to worry about money anymore, be cautious. Level 2 is the silent trap, where many believe they've made it, when in truth, they're just circling an elegant waist. To move up to a higher level, you must start asking yourself, where is every dollar I spend today taking me? Is it helping you build your brand, raise your value, inspire your life? Or is it just another fleeting breeze? Level 3. Spend money to save people. There is a very special realm in the art of spending money. It's when you spend not for yourself, but to lift others up. Those who reach this level begin to understand. Wealth isn't about how much money is in your wallet, but how much belief you can plant in someone's heart. Level 3 is where you realize money carries energy, and that energy can change a life. I'm not talking about million-dollar charities. I'm not talking about big foundations or grand donations. I'm talking about a $5 tip for a server, a $10 bill handed to the night guard as you leave your apartment, a box of food, or even just a pack of cigarettes. It may sound small, but it's often these small acts that touch the human heart most deeply. Picture a car washer working under the blazing sun. You give them $30 instead of $20. Not because you're rich, but because you want them to feel valued. In that moment, you've uplifted them, not with money, but with emotional energy, with recognition, with dignity. And the beautiful thing is, that energy comes back to you. When someone feels inspired, they work with heart. And when they work with heart 3 times, it becomes a habit. Suddenly, you're not just changing a person, you're transforming a work environment, a culture, a community. I've watched wise business owners do this. They don't just invest in products. They invest in people. They share profits. They trust their team. They give unexpected gifts, without anyone asking. Because they know, money can't buy loyalty, but kindness can. Have you noticed? Some people spend millions on a luxury home, but won't spend a few hundred to warm the hearts of their security team. And so they live in mansions, but are guarded like strangers. But you, if you know how to uplift people, you can turn a house into a home, and strangers into allies. Spending money to uplift others is not about giving to be recognized. It's an act of the heart, done quietly, yet spreading goodness all the same. One of the most beautiful lessons I ever learned from a teacher was this. If you help someone when they're not even aware of it, that merit imprints itself onto your destiny. And I believe that, not out of superstition, but because I've seen myself change. I've become gentler, more grateful for every dollar I have. I've come to see that spending money the right way is a form of spiritual practice. And you can begin today. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to wait until you have extra. Just look around and find one person you can make feel seen, valued, worthy. A leader who uplifts their team earns their loyalty. A partner who uplifts at the right time builds lasting trust. A person who uplifts those around them will never walk alone on their journey upward. Level 4. Money degree. Money has life. Have you ever looked at money as a living being? Not just numbers. Not just a means of exchange, but something with energy, intention, even a voice of its own? Sounds strange, doesn't it? But if you've ever seen someone who earns a lot, yet their life keeps spiraling downward, while someone else seems to attract money effortlessly, like water flowing into their life, then you'll begin to understand. Money, in a way, chooses its owner. And level 4 is the level of those who've been chosen by money. Not because they were born wealthy, but because they know how to honor money. What does it mean to honor money? It means you know how to make each dollar come alive in your hands. Some people spend $1 and create the impact of $10. Others burn through $10 for a few fleeting moments of illusion. The difference isn't in the wallet. It's in the mindset. Those who honor money don't spend to show off. They don't spend to fill emotional voids. They spend to activate flow, to generate energy, value, and transformation. For example, someone buys a house to live in, it's a liability. But the same house, if rented out, becomes an asset. Just a shift in how it's used, and its value is transformed. A woman buys a designer bag, not to flaunt, but to build her personal image, elevate her brand, and unlock opportunities in fashion, PR, or media. That bag? No longer a cost. Now it's an image asset. When you understand this, money isn't dead. Only the way you use it determines whether it lives or not. Then you've stepped into a very different realm of financial freedom. I call it the state of call money, and it comes. Release it, and it flows. No chasing, no wasting, just understanding. Because money, just like people, wants to live a meaningful life. It doesn't want to sit stagnant in your account while you worry constantly about losing it. It wants to move, grow, evolve, and live richly. Let me tell you a story. I had a friend, he had only $5 in savings. Instead of keeping it for emergencies, he used it to host a small skills workshop. At first, just a few dozen people showed up. But 6 months later, he became a sought-after speaker across the entire state. That $5, sitting still, would have just been a number. But in the hands of someone who honors money, it became a ladder to a new life. So don't ask, how much money do I have? Ask, how is the money I have being lived? If you let it sit idle, it will leave you. But if you make it shine, it will call its entire family to come. Money, like people, does not want to live in hell. If you hold it with fear, anxiety, and suspicion, you're locking it in a dark prison. But if you spend money with the mindset, I'm helping this dollar live its most meaningful life, then you are becoming the Buddha of money. Level 5. Spending money with principle. At a deeper level of financial freedom, you begin to realize money isn't just a tool for living, it's a tool for leading. Not everyone who has money knows how to use it right, but those who truly master their wealth are those who know how to spend it with principle, with wisdom, with integrity. Level 5 spending with principle is the realm of those who have moved beyond the stage of making money to survive and stepped into a higher question. What am I using money for? In this world? At this level, People no longer count every dollar of profit or loss. They don't ask, "What do I get? What do you get?" They see money as a sword, sharp, precise, that can clear paths, bring order, and lead big games. Have you ever heard the story of Li Ka-shing? In business deals, he often let his partners take 70%, while he kept only 30%. Not because he was weak, but because he knew how to build trust, plant seeds of long-term value, and carry the grace of a true leader. Most people think in terms like, "I sell it for 100, I keep 50. That's transactional thinking, legal, fair, and rational. But it's not enough. That's the mindset of a merchant. But those who go further, like Li Ka-shing or Jack Ma, they operate on an entirely different plane. They think in terms of systems, of yin and yang, the seller, the buyer, the platform in between, and they position themselves at the center, not selling, not buying, but orchestrating the flow. Have you noticed? Amazon doesn't produce goods. Airbnb owns no hotels. Uber has no cars. Yet they move billions because they know how to use money, data, and financial energy according to principle. No head-on fights, no zero-sum games. They shape the playing field itself. To spend with principle means you know when to spend and when to hold. You know when to give away 100% because you understand trust is worth more than capital. I once learned this powerful idea. If you want long-term collaboration, don't split evenly, split generously. Splitting evenly ensures fairness. Splitting generously keeps hearts loyal. And in business, winning hearts is more valuable than winning profits. You want success not just once, but again and again? You want money to return to you year after year? Then start looking at money with strategy, not greed. There's a quote I truly love. When money flows in alignment with principle, it's like water flowing to the sea, nothing can stop it. The more you prioritize shared value over personal gain, the more you understand the true flow of life. Then money will come to you. Not because you chase it, but because it wants to serve a bigger purpose through you. So whether you're a business owner, a manager, or simply someone working hard each day, don't just ask, "Will this expense make me money?" Ask yourself, "Am I using money with principle, or just reacting from instinct?" Money comes and goes, but principle, once you master it, becomes your compass in every stage of wealth. Money may disappear, but for those who live by principle, money will always find its way back to them. Level 6. Spending money for the nation. There is a level that very few people reach. Not because it's unreachable, but because not many are big enough to even dream about it. Level 6. Spending money for the nation. For the community. For humanity. Sounds lofty, doesn't it? But hold on, don't be too quick to think, "That's not for me." Because the truth is, every dollar you spend, no matter how small, helps shape this world. The real question is, what is the intention behind your spending? I once met an entrepreneur who told me something that stuck with me. "I'm not building this business to get rich. I'm building it so children in remote villages can have books to read." And I started to notice something. People with that kind of heart, money just keeps flowing to them. Because they're not just earning for themselves. They've opened a channel that brings financial energy into the community. Did you know? The moment you say in your heart, "I want to use money to make my country better," in that moment, you're no longer just an individual. You've connected with something much greater. The energy of a nation. The frequency of collective purpose. And once you connect, opportunities begin to appear. Allies start showing up. Capital flows in from places you never expected. It's not magic. It's the shift in your energy frequency. Governments work the same way. They don't fund the most talented person. They fund the one whose mission aligns with the nation's purpose. The bigger your vision, the more you prioritize public good, the wider the doors open for funding, support, and trust. Think about it. You spend your money to support local businesses. You choose services from small, independent providers. You teach your children to respect labor and effort, not just to consume. Each of these is a quiet act of patriotism. You don't need to wave a flag. You don't need a spotlight or a podium. You just need to ask yourself, in every financial decision, does this contribute to a better society? And once you start thinking like that, money no longer becomes something you chase. It becomes something that flows to you, because it now has a purpose greater than you. Look at the world. Elon Musk isn't just selling electric cars. He's helping clean the planet. Muhammad Yunus isn't just offering microloans. He's helping millions escape poverty. All of them are using money as a tool to change the destiny of nations, or even humanity. You might say, but I'm not as big as them. And yet, remember this: the intention you place in every dollar is the seed of greatness, and the strange thing is, when you live and spend with a higher purpose, you don't just become richer in wealth, you become rich in trust, rich in connection, rich in inner strength, because in that moment, you're no longer living just for yourself. You become a vessel for the financial energy of a generation. Level 7. Spending money to create new value. At a completely different realm, people don't spend money to satisfy themselves. Nor do they spend to accumulate more. They spend to create what has never existed before. This is level 7, the realm of the founder. At this level, money isn't seen as something to save, but as raw material for creation. Money in their hands isn't just spent. It's transformed into ideas, products, systems, and entire ecosystems. They spend like an artist holds a brush, not to beautify their own life, but to paint something that could change the world. I once heard a powerful quote: "The best founder is someone willing to spend their last dollar creating something the market has never seen." It may sound reckless, but it's not a gamble. It's a deep and steady belief in the future they're building. Elon Musk is a classic example. He once sold all his houses, poured his entire net worth into SpaceX and Tesla, two companies the world once laughed at. He lived in a tiny rented room, unsure of his next meal, but he still poured every dollar into his dream. And the result? He didn't just become a billionaire. He opened up entirely new industries. That's the essence of level 7. Spending money to carve new paths. No repeating, no copying, no playing it safe. You don't have to be Elon Musk, but you can start much smaller. Spend money to write a book you believe needs to exist. Use your savings to launch a community project you've dreamed of. Invest in creating a product, a course, or an app that helps others. You don't have to wait until you have enough. Because truthfully, you'll never feel like it's enough if you don't dare to begin. People at this level understand. Money that stands still is dead. Money in motion is alive. But money used to create something new, that's immortal. When you spend with a founder's mindset, you're not just investing, you're shaping culture, shifting habits, redefining markets. You're not just changing your wallet, you're changing how others see a problem. A coffee shop can become a hub of inspiration if you build it with vision. A seemingly small product can set a new trend if you back it with your full heart. People at level 7 don't spend money just to make more. They spend to draw new maps so others can follow. And when the value you create becomes big enough, money will return to you in ways you never imagined. So whether you're holding $1, $10, or just a few $100, ask yourself, what can this money help me create that makes the world just a little better? If you can answer that, then you've already taken your first step into the founder's world, where money is no longer the goal, but the spark for something far greater. Level 8. EGOLESSNESS with money. At some point, after you've passed through all the stages of spending, from saving, splurging, investing, sharing, to creating, you may arrive at a very different state. A place where money no longer means anything. This is level 8, the final level, egolessness with money. This is not a place for those escaping financial responsibility. Nor is it a rejection of material life. Quite the opposite. It's a place you can only reach after you've truly mastered money. At this level, you don't own money anymore. You simply live with it. You don't need to control the flow of money, because money knows how to find its way to you. You don't need to prove your wealth, because your very presence radiates a quiet sense of abundance. You don't spend money to gain anything. You spend because the moment is right. No forcing, no regret, no hesitation. Have you ever met someone like that? They live simply but lack nothing. They own little, yet seem deeply rich from within. They don't preach, they don't show off, they don't monetize every word. But being around them feels light, open, and whole. They've reached a state where money isn't in the wallet, money is in the heart. The egoless person has no urge to hoard, because they know to cling is to lose. They don't try to give, Because giving or not giving makes no difference to their sense of self. This level is like a still body of water. No ripples on the surface, yet incredibly deep underneath. Money comes and goes, but doesn't stir their soul. Not because they're indifferent, but because their ego has dissolved into the flow of financial energy. You might find them in the form of a monk living in the forest, or a nameless benefactor funding hundreds of students, without ever leaving a name, or an investor who only backs projects for the community, never for the headlines. They don't seek attention, yet they become the quiet center of everything meaningful. And here's the beautiful part. Money loves people like this. Because money, at its core, is energy. And energy always flows toward where it's most free. Free from control, free from manipulation, free from ego. When you reach level 8, you no longer need to own anything. And yet, you can do everything. You no longer ask, how much should I spend? You simply spend rightly, at the right time, on the right thing, for the right person. No planning, no forecasting. You become part of the current. This is a rare state. It requires letting go of your entire financial ego. Letting go of the identity of being rich. Letting go of the urge to control. Letting go of the fear of lacking and the craving to have more. But if you can touch it, even for a moment, you'll realize, this is true freedom. No more money owning you. No more you owning money. Just two forces walking together, like water and the riverbed. And then, you'll understand, financial freedom isn't about how much you have. It's about how little money controls your soul. Thank you for walking through all 8 levels of the money journey. This path doesn't end with a number. It ends in stillness. If this message resonated with you, please leave a like, a subscribe, or share it with someone you care about. Because maybe someone you love is still at level 1. And all they need is one line, one moment, to begin their next step.